Hello, Internet. Welcome to right now the Discover RPG Power Hour, your lunch break where we chat about D&D and TTRPG stuff and our network and all sorts of fun things. We hope we can be appropriately entertaining for you at this juncture. I am Angela, this is Logan, and we shall be your hosts for this afternoon. Oh, I almost said afternoon delight, and I did not mean to say that. Anyway, this afternoon sojourn into gaming. How are you doing today, Logan?
I am great. I'm also green, so I gotta fix that.
At least great until I
Nope,
said
that's you.
that
That's not. I
thing.
don't want that. I don't want that. Oh, that's on you. I need it on me. That one.
So we
Which is
are
Afternoon delight. That's our new thing.
No, it's really not.
Okay.
Oh my gosh.
All right.
Hi Jesse. Hi Tessa.
Hi, Pygmy Jesse Chiffon.
Bean.
We need to
Chiffon
we need
Bean.
to
Shabeen.
Shabeen. What's up, Jesse Shabeen?
It's Shabeen.
Jesse Shabeen.
No, anyway, so we are clearly decompressing from last night. I would request that we probably refrain from talking too much because we will be having a wrap up.
Spoilers like crazy.
Well, we'll be having a wrap up next week, and so why use all of our brain power thinking about it now when we can think critically about it next week?
Makes sense to me.
Sure. Well,
that means we'll have to figure out something else to talk about. That's all I prepared for, so I'm just.
Oh no!
You go ahead. I'll be back.
Stuff. Okay. Bye.
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 I don't like the black
so anyway, I am severely off center, and I'm fixing it right now. So I role played last night. that's all that's in my brain right now. So this is going to be complicated. I just want to say that I'm in a tremendously good mood. I'm very content. We have played games in the past. We have ended campaigns in the past that have felt a little like... what's a good way to put it? The finales have been exhausting. In a good way. In the idea of just completely offloading so much tension and I don't know how to describe it. It is not that shenanigans was not something I care about. Like, not that the first campaign wasn't something I cared about. It just feels good. Like, I had a very specific bleed with Adelaide, and I didn't have a lot of bleed in other aspects of her, and so I feel very... That's her story. I'm happy with that. So I feel very good about how the story ended for her. I'm excited to discuss a little bit next week in the epilogue about what sort of becomes of her. But yeah, I'm happy, and I'm really looking forward to next month when we start campaign 2. It cannot come soon enough, but also I wish we had more time to prep. It is both those things.
It's a weird juxtaposition, isn't it? It's like Schrodinger's show. It's like, we wish we had more time, but can it be here tomorrow?
Mm-hmm.
Can it be here tomorrow with all the work done?
There you go.
And already 2 weeks of marketing done, minimum.
So let's give folks a little insight into prepping a new campaign. How about that? We can talk about that for a while in the abstract. So you have been working on the concept for this campaign for a while now, even as Shenanigans has been... Nope, you just came up with it?
I did have a concept for it that I pretty much abandoned last minute.
Oh, cool.
For something completely different.
Yeah, that's true. I think I knew what the first concept was, but it was not where it ended up when you gave us a hint last night.
They may still be connected. I have some thoughts on how they're still connected.
Sure. Absolutely.
But yes, the first concept was kind of exploring the magic poisoning that exists within
that's just gonna exist in another form, maybe.
Well, it's still gonna,
you don't have to tell them too much about.
You're still
season
from
if you don't wanna.
Ashport, no matter where you happen to go,
Okay, you're supposed to quarantine people when you travel out of town.
So we'll still have some sort of magic poisoning that exists.
It
may just be
fault.
a factor of the world's availed as we stream it. It doesn't need to exist everywhere. So I kind of abandoned that last minute because I came up with this concept probably because of a lot of the shows I've been watching recently. I mean, if anybody was watching last night and happens to have watched Star Trek Deep Space Nine recently, you may have seen some parallels.
I said it in chat. I went, "Oh, so this isn't Generations; it's DS9."
Yeah,
I was very excited by the prophets,
by the wormhole aliens. I was very good. I mean, Nexus creatures.
Or if you've seen the movie Contact, that also would count.
It's been a while since I've seen Contact, but yes, exactly.
All we needed was I mean, Bonnie had some scenes on a beach, I think, maybe.
No, maybe. There was a lot of influence around, and I kind of have been getting a sort of sci-fi-ish bug, but I know that the only show I've decided I'm going to be working on right now is going to be Shenanigans. I'm not going to divide my attention, so I decided, well, let's run kind of in that vein. And kind of get kind of mix them and see what happens. And I'm not going to say the name of it, but if you happen to know that D&D a long time ago released as a supplement kind of that mixes the two. And if you watched our show, you may have gotten some hints about it. But yes, the ending of the show last night set up the research that is needed to be done for what's coming in the next campaign. So that'll be happening, and I've got a lot of fun things. So coming up with the concept was the first step, but it's actually only solidified. It actually solidified after we started talking about the campaign, it really only solidified in my brain probably about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, completely.
Nice. But from a logistics standpoint, we had to do a couple of things. One, we had decided that Ren was going to join the cast. They had been such a lovely first guest for us to have on Shenanigans, and we had probably such a good time
because there's I guess we could fit in some people when we have people who can't
if we have a smaller cast for a day. We had our slight cast shakeup, just a little, by adding a new person. Nobody else is left. And then we had to go about, while playing Shenanigans and still being invested in our characters, trying to conceptualize new characters. Logan,
which is part of why I didn't want to do it a long time ago, because I didn't want to.
No senioritis.
As soon as we started talking about it, everyone started coming up with concepts. I'm like, hold on.
What you fail to remember, Logan, is that we're constantly coming up with new characters. It's not that hard to compartmentalize.
Yes, that's very true.
But so Logan did a couple of really neat things this season. Just as a really we're in Smile Valiant.
Okay, that's not supposed to be over there. It's supposed to be right there. There we go.
The whole thing. Anyway, so Logan did a couple of really neat things for character development this season. For second season, we were encouraged not to. Don't make me think of Mike's letter. We were encouraged to come up with some things. I mean, a lot of us had already kind of got our race class concept, but we were encouraged to instead at the beginning focus on some other aspects of our characters to strengthen them as characters meant to be on a show that we are streaming. So trying to make dynamic and interesting performances from us, making sure our characters are fully formed and conceptualized from a personality standpoint, making sure it's easy to see them in, like, say, the art we're making and understand something fundamental about that person. So we had a lot of little like thought experiments that Logan put us under to try to kind of feel out what our characters were besides just elf rogue or something like that.
And this comes partly from Monster of the Week. That's kind of where the inspiration came for a lot of that. I used to do similar things, but nobody's ever really had done it for me, and I have a hard time not doing just I'm an elf rogue, or here's my basic concept. Even though they're unique concepts, I usually have very little to nothing fleshed out about my character, even their personality, before I start
kind of
playing.
designed for that a little bit.
I agree that it can be.
You start with race class
yeah.
in the book, and it's just sort of where they naturally expect you to be starting from.
Which I think they've added a pre-chapter that's like, now you'd start about your concept first, you think about who you are and things. I think they do talk a little bit about that, and then later you flesh out the final details. But for me, I've always struggled with that because I've never had a DM that's done any of these thought experiments with me until Monster of the Week was one of those areas where you kind of start thinking about that as you're creating the character. And honestly, a couple of the things I want you guys to think about was more because I had looked at a lot of our shows and looked at a lot of the art that's been done for our shows, and most of the art for our shows all had one of three expressions: the generic,
the DreamWorks eyebrow raise, which is what my face does.
The generic, I'm calling them the generic character art expressions, you know, and it's the stern, hardened, or maybe you can call it it's usually the barbarian or the edgelord, you know, and then there's the smolder, the I'm sexy pose, and then there's the I'm pleasantly happy or pleasantly content happy pose. Sorry,
that's too much mouth.
That's way too much. Yeah, exactly. And that's it. It's those three poses. And I looked, it was like almost all the art was like that. And I said,
it's meant to be that idea of a blank canvas kind of thing, but that's not what you were going for this season, since because we discovered that much about we are a madcap group of people.
So one of the things is when somebody comes to the stream, I've been thinking a lot more about how the audience views our shows, not just how we play them. So when an audience shows up to our stream, those character arts are some of the first things they see. And if we're in a slow moment in the game or something, that's all they're going to see for that entire time. Is, you know, they may decide in a minute they're not going to stay, but if they can see the personality on the art, that at least might give them a reason to want to listen to that person play that character, and they might wait long enough to see that. And I hope that helps them give enough time for us to do justice to the campaign and to the game, and show them what we can truly be like, which, you know, like for the last few days where we've been you know, the last few sessions we've had have been definitely on that level, and I've been very happy with them. I know that every episode has not been on that level. We've had a lot of episodes that I look back on and going, I could have done that a lot better. And you're gonna have those, and that's okay. Whether you're to game table or not. You know, one of the things I learned very early on, and I think Matt Colville talks really well about this, is he says that some games are a slog, and trying to not make them not a slog makes them worse. And he talks about, you know, sometimes you're just going to get stuck in a rut. You're going to be in a combat. You're going to be in something, and it is going to feel like a slog. You're going to realize nobody's really having a lot of fun in the moment, and that's okay. And, you know, you're going to have some down moments in your games, and in those moments, you can try to fix it. But if you don't have a clear direction on how to fix it, then you could do a lot more harm than good. Like in the situation, like if you're in the middle of a combat and you're realizing it's a slog, you can lower the hit points a little bit, that's sure, but don't let them just instantly kill the monster in the middle when it doesn't really make sense for them to do that. Because then it just feels like a gimme. They can kind of know that you've just handed it to them to kind of get rid of that, and the next part can feel worse. You know, they don't feel like they've achieved anything. So, and so now they feel like they did that slog for nothing. And so they're, you know, it's just an interesting concept. So I look back at those moments and just go, yeah, they happen. I don't think we've had anything that really hit as a big slog, like it was like we're drudging through, you know, losing Atreyu or anything. But but for the most part, yeah, I've been pretty happy with. Especially the last arc was absolutely one of my absolute favorites in the entire campaign.
I actually it had been a little while since we had done combat, and I really dug the last combat.
It had been so long since we've done combat, I forgot how to do natural ones. That's how long it's been.
DM, it's however the fuck you want to do natural ones.
Yeah, but I like to stay consistent with the campaign, and none of us could remember. So
well. It doesn't matter though. There was no consistency to be consistent to if we hadn't done it. But I really dug it. The fact that I sort of abandoned the idea. I'm so upset about losing that arcane shot. I used both.
Oh my
not
god,
thinking he was gonna run into the fog.
It was so good.
Like one time I could have used that seeking arrow.
That's like at the end of Callous Heroes when
You can't like save
when
stuff.
Jay
You can't save shit.
when Jay playing Oshin had not killed as a barbarian, not killed anything the entire campaign in the very last combat, and misses the very last blow in the very last combat. It doesn't get to kill that either. It's like, try to use it. No.
Well, the point was, I before that had happened, I hadn't been that committed to sticking to the fact that I was playing a fighter. I was leaning into the no puzzle solving. Gotta go get that stuff. I have a telekinesis ring. I'm gonna go pick stuff up.
I honestly had expected everyone to scatter and just grab those things.
I didn't yell it, and I like thought about it, like going, "Hey, can everyone help me, maybe?" And I didn't. I was like, "They're busy. Bonnie's got daddy issues. I get it. Go ahead." I'll do it. I think there was also part of me and part of Adelaide that wanted to be the one that got it.
I was hoping every time when you rolled like right next to it a couple times, I was like, "Oh."
Well, and by the end, when Arthur was showing that he was, I knew Arthur was clearly more equipped to deal with a charisma save or a charisma check. I was like, you should be doing this. No, go ahead. But yeah, I'm sorry. I keep talking back about it. I am very excited about next week. I love talking about our characters. I'm intensely interested in talking about my imaginary self all the time. But yeah, so anyway, back to season 2. We all had a lot of fun, and we're still having a lot of fun conceptualizing our characters. We have the art locked down in the sense of we have found our artist, and we are working with her to design our art. I can promote Jam right now. Let me get her thing. Where are you? Oh, I'm in the wrong Twitter profile. That's why I can't. Jam Day. You can find Jam at this website. Jam is incredible. She is a very kick-ass artist. I'm trying to find her commission info. Yes, here's her commission info. So you can get a kind of a hint, a clue as to the style we are going for this season. Certainly, Logan made a really nice comparison, and I do really dig it. Sort of a Steven Universe vibe, a little more graphic, a little more, and graphic in the sense of like bold or kind and
Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, a little bit like that. And I given what hints we have gotten, I think that's a very appropriate vibe. I'm getting a little. No, I don't think this will be too much of a spoiler. I'm getting a little bit of a She-Ra vibe from from the art and from the kind of premise you're going with. But yeah, so we have our art. We're working on getting the references and getting our commission all squared away with the artist. We are working on a new layout for the game.
Several new layouts.
Yes, we're going to be playing around a little bit more with some more dynamic layout styles. We're going to have something using the space a bit more, like a little more breathing room for everybody in the layout. You'll see with the final one what we're talking about. We all have green screens now, so we're going to be doing some fancy schmancy stuff. And Logan gave a bit of a preview last couple episodes with the solo screen. The DM and one player sort of intimate scene. And Logan, I remember what I did the other day that broke Tessa.
What was that?
You were her dad, and Bonnie was talking to her dad. And I know. Bonnie was talking to her dad, and I did the fisherman reeling in a middle finger while he was talking. That's what killed Tessa that one time. I was like, I regret nothing. But that is a downside to the isolated screen, is that if there's random breaking of character, it might be because of something in the back. So I'm sorry, I'll try my best not to do that. But occasionally I can't help but yell at the screen like I'm watching a movie and I'm terribly inconsiderate. Like there was a point where he said something like, my daughter never existed, or she never got a chance to exist. I'm like, didn't she die as an adult, you dickhead? Like I was so upset with it.
I believe she was 16 when she was
16. Okay.
So.
Hey, it's a fantasy world. That's at least partial adulthood in terms of
It is technically an adult, yes.
But anyway, Kyle and I were also DMing privately in Zoom when Bonnie was, and Tessa, I'm not trying to call you out, I promise. When Bonnie kept forgiving or kept saying, no, I still love you, and then will you sacrifice your friends for him? Well, no. And I DM'd Kyle in all caps. Well, I'm glad we found the line now, Bonnie.
That's funny.
I did. I feel bad, but Kyle and I were just. I'm actually really looking forward to next season because we're gonna. I think based on the kinds of characters we're playing, I hope are gonna shake up a little bit of the character bonds and connections.
So yeah,
we're gonna have some very interesting personality mixes.
I was gonna say I see that. I also see a little bit less family initially. You guys bonded fairly quickly, other than maybe Adelaide. It took a little bit longer, but I see a lot more stronger personalities that aren't as codependent as some of these were. And I'm very excited to see where they take you, and to see how you guys are going to kind of bond together. And we have not found out the bonds between the characters yet. That's something we'll be working on. We stole that from Monster of the Week, and we will be using that during our session 0, which is scheduled for the 4th. And then after that, we will be right here on this channel for every Tuesday up until we launch, doing tech rehearsals, where we will be playing maybe one-shots, or goofing around with the overlays and talking and chatting, and generally just trying to get things working in order. But they will be for subscribers only to our Twitch channel. And then they will be put on our Patreon, not on YouTube, so you will be able to find them over there, I believe, is how we're doing it.
Yep, that is the plan.
So yeah, so those will be happening throughout February. And then starting, I'm hoping the last week of February, but maybe the first week of March, we will have that date probably as soon as we have our session 0 and know how long the art's going to take, and the music by Will Crossway. And once that is all in factor, then we'll know the launch date.
That sounds a bit to me like we also need to be making some excavations in artlist.io and find some new general music.
I already have been doing mix. That was how this all got started, and half of it was sent to
Hey, hi Jane.
Hello. Half of it was sent to Will as reference material.
Awesome.
As well as several Saturday morning 80s cartoons. So
Legends of Dark Water, sure as fuck better be on there.
Actually,
great theme song.
To be fair, there was only two. One was the music I sent him. The other one we mentioned was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So there was only 2, and that was more of a I don't want this.
Oh, you don't want this?
Yeah, that was more of a I don't want the TMNT as awesome. Our theme song.
Okay, now you just inspired me for my Folk of Vale for one of my one-shots. There definitely should be
I think 80 Saturdays Morning Cartoons is a great way to intro.
No, but there definitely should be a Ninja Turtle-like thing where some group, they're all brothers, they're all siblings, they're all martial artists.
Absolutely.
Anyway, they're all color-coded. We're working a lot on the layout. We're working on getting all the fancy little bells and whistles done. And we'll be starting to address actual character development and story with our tech rehearsals, I think. And some little things, not getting too deep into it, but getting our sea legs, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
With these new characters. We've been in these characters for 2 years, which is crazy that we've been doing that. Go ahead.
We were in these characters when we started Countless Heroes.
Yeah, we were playing 2. Yeah, I mean, Shenanigans certainly wasn't on the front burner at the time. It was more of our goof off play in the back. But who'd have thought that would end up being? Yeah, I don't know. I'm really excited. I'm really excited by the fact that Shenanigans grew. I guess it was something I always had a soft spot for. Partly because I had this secret hanging over me the entire show, and I was very invested in that secret with Adelaide. Almost to the point where
everybody has secrets in the next one.
I know. Okay, so speaking of next season, that is another aspect of our characters, is that we were each developed. I have.
You told Jesse?
Did I? I might have said it last. I might have said something last Discover when I was by myself.
That's hilarious.
With Jessie. That's fine. I can't keep secrets. I'm just very excited about her.
Good.
I didn't give like everything away. I might have hinted at the race class combo. That might have been.
You know, if we explode next season, Jesse, you're going to be in a very powerful position. You go ahead and sell those secrets. Things. Just cut me in.
Oh, you shush, Jesse. No, I didn't. I'm sure I didn't. Oh God, did I? Anyway.
I did leave her unsupervised. I'm sorry I was sick last week.
I just keep talking about my characters. You can't stop me. I really love them.
Secrets.
Secrets. So one of the things that Logan did as sort of a prep and understanding what we want out of the season and the kind of dynamics that he wants to set up is that we were all requested to give him secrets about our characters, things that we're holding on to, probably, I assume, of various levels of severity or stake.
It is various levels from the extremely immensely tragic to the very minorly embarrassing, and I love that they range so much.
Kyle's character has a tramp stamp, doesn't he?
There's a couple that are the people don't even really know them, that they will be things that maybe even they discover about themselves, or they know part of it, and they just don't understand the severity of it. So there's some really good stuff I'll be working with early on.
It's true, Tessa. This character, the Cosmic character, seems like he would have an edgelord, like, on his lower back, and we'd all know about
what is his tramp stamp? An edgelord?
I said it says edgelord. It says edgelord with some tribal tattoo stuff. It looks like barbed wire.
Yes, absolutely.
There's a raven somewhere on his abs, like on his ribs. He's got a raven.
Perched on the
or a sparrow. He's got a sparrow and a raven. Yeah.
And then there's swords piercing through it, and
I've got his number, is what I'm gonna say. I love that we're determining this. This is like Merrick's mom all over again. Kyle has no say. Yeah, very different than Kyle's actually.
Yeah, his is a butterfly.
Yeah. It's a Mo fanboy tattoo.
I want a Mo fanboy tattoo.
He has a Mo drawn. I love that. Now the question is, where is it? Anyway,
he has 2 of them, and he's not telling.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God.
They were very painful.
So what does he have to wear that's low cut in order to show them off?
It's actually high cut.
Oh, okay.
And only on warm days.
This is like Merrick's mom all over again. Kyle has no say. His character has embarrassing tattoos now.
Perfect.
We all just assume it. And then it will become true. It will become canon if we think hard enough. This is a lesson of life, guys.
That's part of the horrible thing about the wonderful and horrible thing about my job. I can make anything canon I want.
But yeah, so we are obviously very excited to get to season 2. Really. We're kind of starting on not a fresh palette, but we're elevating, I think.
What do you mean not a fresh palette?
Like, it's not like we're starting a new, like, we only have one new person. The personal dynamic is still going to be like, we all get along, we all love gaming with each other. That's not going to change. I don't think the tone is going to be that severely different in terms of just general,
I would say,
camaraderie tone, but
I would say it's probably, well, I don't know, the camaraderie might be slightly different. I don't think that anybody's going to like screw the party or anything.
No.
But I don't know that it's going to be like super duper family lovey-dovey as this one kind of became. But it might towards the end.
This could be more of a comrades in arms kind of thing, which can also be
and again, you might grow to love each other anyway, and you probably will be knowing us.
We always do, because it's us. Even our like edgelords become cinnamon rolls.
That's true.
You can't help it. We're suckers for found family, you guys. We love those stories.
That's very true. So then, I don't know what I was gonna say. Yeah. What were we talking about?
Shenanigans season 2. Coming soon. But in the meantime, if fun things happen or things we want to announce, we'll talk about it here. In the meantime,
probably, yeah. And did we talk about the show changing at all?
Oh, I mean, we've talked about the last couple of
Oh,
episodes,
okay. I didn't know.
but just as a refresher, if anyone's new here, I see there's a few new people.
Oh, hi.
We have
Hi,
a
new
larger
people.
number than I saw before. So we have normally been Discover RPG Power Hour. Discover RPG is not really going anywhere. We're just kind of rejiggering it a little bit to be slightly more focused
What
on
chicken
what
jigger?
our original premise, which was talking about advice for running, creating, and playing RPGs. Lots of things about communication styles, storytelling styles, world building, that sort of stuff. We want to stick with that stuff in the Discover RPG brand, but the Power Hour has very much become kind of a mix of talking about network news and talking about us and goofing off while also talking about it's also sort of become our unofficial like after show for Shenanigans a little bit. And so we are going to be rebranding the Power Hour as the Nerdsmith Power Hour, because that also will allow some of our other directors occasionally to hop in, maybe run these on different days. This might just be our designator for, hey, we're going to hop on stream for a little while and talk about some shit. So this will become a broader concept. And Discover RPG will probably remain as maybe slightly more edited, not live streamed stuff. We've got things in the works right now where we're talking about doing interviews with some of our favorite creators and fellow Nerdsmith folks, and then also doing those short instructional videos about the last year of topics we've talked about on the show, just kind of condensing them. And I'm going to start trying to get let's not call it a resolution, but as an exercise, I'm going to try to casually record some more very short videos on different RPG topics or things that I've discovered that I really, really enjoy. Oh no, Jesse, get a towel. Why would you bring snowballs in the house? They're for outside.
I read that very, very differently, and I'm not going to say how or why.
Okay, good. So yeah, we're gonna be. I'm probably gonna leave this layout, but I might just recolor it and change the logo a little bit. Because I actually really dig it, and I might just change some of the colors up. Personally, I have been told orange and turquoise look very good together. Those are like action poster colors.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
I'll be playing around with it a little bit. It'll be fun. And so we're not really going anywhere in terms of this time slot, but
I think we're staying right here. Yeah,
Jesse, he was very like polite just then. He was very restrained. So
thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate that. You should see me in directors meetings.
Oh my god. Do we get anything done? Yes, sometimes.
Sometimes. I think it's more about the idea, especially when we're talking about, where's that line between appropriate and inappropriate behavior? Let me show you what's not.
Yes. Logan was very good at going, this
is okay. Okay, and then Logan speaks. Okay, nope. There it is.
We found the line. We found that line. So yeah, we're very excited about what's coming up for us. I want to share, I'm going to put a pin in it because I really want to take the time to read it to be able to share it better. But next week, hold me to it, you guys. Next week, I'm going to be talking about a preview that I got on a DM's Guild product. I got the Book of Seasons, Solstices, a little while back. And I want to talk about it a little bit more. It's a collection of one-shot or a collection of adventures for 5e that have to do with the seasons, specifically solstices. So things about rituals and stuff that happens during that time period. It's got a bunch of different authors. I'll put a link to it in chat, but I'd like to talk a bit about it next week because I've been putting it off because life has been incredibly busy and crazy. I've had it since Christmas, and I really meant to talk about it during our Christmas show, but then I completely lost time. I didn't have time to talk about it, and then, I was a terrible host and reviewer. So I'll talk about that. But the other thing I want to talk about today, Logan, I have a thing I want to talk about.
I had something I want to talk about too, and I also want to mention that we're looking for, real quick, for a mod on Tuesday nights. That's a huge thing. Yes. If you know anybody that would like to come in and work as our dedicated Twitch moderator for Shenanigans, that's a big deal that's coming up. I forgot to mention it last night, but I think I figured it'll get out. So if you know anybody that's has some experience or maybe even not, there's a little bit of work involved, but we'd be glad to have that. We really, really, really need one that can make every Tuesday night as a dedicated Twitch moderator. Sorry, that was one thing.
Oh,
Combat
that's
is the
important.
other thing, which we can talk about a little bit later.
Go for it.
And there was something else I thought. But what do you got? Mine's probably a long conversation.
Okay, so mine's mostly me talking at you with a premise.
Go for it.
So, Dial Kingsmill, Australian DM, she's really awesome. She runs the Monarchs Factory, because
familiar with
Monarchs
that.
Factory. She has this video series on YouTube where she talks about a couple of things. She talks about mythology and just like her passion for that, and she also talks about D&D and her homebrews and the way she runs things and her world building. And she did a video recently about wild magic and how she runs wild magic, and it's really cool. So she talks about the idea that in her world, wild magic is characterized as supernatural in the sense that it is the most natural thing there is. It is a primal, fundamental type of magic that when you set it off, or it is the result of nature being bent and subverted through magical means. She made a differentiation between wizards and sorcerers that in her concept, you know, in a lot of people's concepts, wizards actively study, they learn how to harness magic in a reliable, replicable, and safe way. And that can often come with restrictions in the kind of power you can wield. Sorcerers just kind of win the lottery and have a natural affinity for magic, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's the safest way for magic to be wielded. Right. It can be explosive, and in her sense, literally. She has taken away the idea of a wild magic table. And what the idea is that when you use the wild magic, she has changed her version of a sorcerer, has a lot more it's a little top heavy, it's a little OP at the beginning for a very specific reason. You get opportunities to change d20s and like manipulate fate and reality at the very beginning, because you're literally pulling at the threads of reality to naturally affect the things around you.
Okay.
When you do that, you start tracking every time you've done that, every time you have manipulated reality in the game. And then you roll a D100. The number of times you've tried to bend reality, or the number of times you have, is your DC. And if you ever roll under it, then a wild magic surge happens. So ideally, this would happen later in the game because the number would be high enough that you'd roll low on the D100 and hit it. But so her idea is actually a plot concept that when the sorcerer actually triggers a wild magic surge, everyone around them sees a giant explosion that happens, and it damages anything around it and the caster a little bit. But the caster gets this sort of 2001 Space Odyssey, like, I can see into time and space, and I understand my place in the universe, and I see the stars moving, and I understand everything now. And when they wake up, or when they come to, they're in the same place, but nobody's there. No one's around. And then you end the session. And you tell, okay, I gotta prep some stuff now. Hopefully this happens at a point where you can stop the session reasonably. And then you go to talk to every other character except the sorcerer, and you explain, we are in the future. A future in which the sorcerer disappeared the moment that wild magic happened, and you are all now like the darkest timeline versions of yourself. So you work with the other players to build these versions of them, and the sorcerer then spends possibly a few episodes in a sub-arc trying to get home and dealing with the fallout of manipulating reality so much that they basically got shoved forward in time to see this dark timeline where they don't exist. And they're like, well, one, it's a fun way of engaging the sorcerer, giving them sort of a solo story. But then you also could say, all right, why is the world so dark? Maybe zombies took over. Maybe a necromancer you haven't heard of yet has taken over. And it's your opportunity to plant the seeds of your next story arc, your next big bad. Now they go back and they know what can happen if they don't stop whatever happened then. So they have this sort of, you know the what and you know the when. Now you have to figure out how to stop it. So it was a really cool idea of incorporating wild magic into the plot of her story. I just thought it was a really neat idea. It's obviously not applicable. Yeah, it's obviously not applicable to like everyone's games, but I really, really dug the way that she expressed this reconceptualizing the specifically the wild magic sorcerer.
I'd like to watch that video.
Yeah, I'll put a link out. Dale always like she has some really cool ones about like mythology. I think she primarily talks about kind of Greek mythology, but I love her D&D videos. She does wonderful concepts for animal familiar rituals. She's someone who's like, I think too much about things and plan whole systems around concepts, and then she'll present the systems. Because I adore her Thieves' Cant, and I want to talk to you about the Thieves' Cant, even though I'm not sure how applicable it'll be in the new season. But her Thieves' Cant concept is really cool and very dynamic and interesting. So yeah, we'll talk about it. But yeah, so Monarch's Factory is the channel.
Very cool. Does she have any combat systems?
She might, yeah. She's got a couple of things.
Cool. We'll have to take a look at that.
Yeah, let me link to her. I want to get her on the show someday, but you know, we're changing the format, so I don't know how that's gonna happen. Also, Australia. We know how Australia time zone works for people.
Well, that's true.
But yeah, so that's Monarch's Factory. I am a huge fan of her D&D stuff. She does things like foraging and crafting poisons, designing gods, the Kingsmill method of death and injury. So her death and injury system, running the druidic language. She overhauls some of the classes. My terrible rules for earning animal companions is actually really good. And so yeah, she does some neat stuff with how she homebrews and wanting to share her. She does narrative-centric combat is one of the ones she has. It's called parentheses running red caps. Oh god.
All right.
But yeah, she's one of those. I have a few that my go-tos. A few people that I really I always check out their videos, and Dale's one of those that I really enjoy hers. Because there's, you know, you can go anywhere for D&D advice and find different types of D&D advice, but I really dig that one. I also really like Animated Spellbook. Animated Spellbook's really good. They're hosted by Humblewood, but this guy does these really fun animated videos, visually and very simply breaking down spells and what their possible utility is. So like he recently talked about Shillelagh and how Shillelagh is a really awesome spell, and this is how you can use it, and this is why you might use it for a character. Like the fact that you can use, like he breaks down the rules and then he basically extrapolates out why is that cool, or how would you use that. So with Shillelagh, it's like if you have a character that Dex and Strength are kind of dump stats for them, Shillelagh is a great spell because it lets you use your spellcasting modifier as your weapon thing. So yeah, make a cool character that they're channeling their magic through their staff, and that's how they do damage. So yeah, it's very cool. But yeah, Animated Spellbook's fun.
Awesome. I love that.
I always have fun things to share. I like sharing. Z Bashu is the name of the user, but I'll put the user. I'll put the channel up. Because I love sharing things. So, I talked a lot. I'm in a good mood. I have fun things.
Oh, Monarch's Factory. I recognize them. They weren't always Monarch's Factory, though. It was called something else before.
I don't know. She's been that for as long as I know her, so
maybe it was. Anyway.
Cool. But yeah, so yeah, those are my fun things. I'm in a very good mood today. I am gonna be on a show on Thursday, which I'm excited about. Black Cats Gaming is doing a demo of the 5e spy game. So this modern spy version of D&D 5e.
Didn't we do a playtest of that?
We did. We did do a playtest of that.
The playtest of it. And this is now
so we did a one shot. This is another level of playtesting. This is going to be 3 weeks long. So 3 Thursdays in a row playing sort of a mini campaign. At least that's what I'm under the impression of. That it's going to be consistent characters. And yeah, so we're playing around. There's just a few of us. We're not planning much right now. We got to take a look at the character classes, but we will be starting at 3rd level, and we're going to be kind of planning it on Thursday, like in session, we'll be doing our character making. So I'm very excited to see how that gets run, because I hadn't gotten a chance to play it, and I really dug the idea of doing something that's a bit more modern with the 5e system. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with. I'm very excited by some of the character styles. It's, you know, standard spy movie tropes. So like hackers and bodyguards and spies, or like infiltrators and things like that. Basically modern takes on, I would argue, some of the D&D classes, but they play around with a little bit.
Yeah. Very cool.
What else is happening?
Not much.
Planning for WonderCon.
We got WonderCon coming up. We've got, and then right after we get back, we'll have our sub drive, which will be our patron drive, which will be from the 16th through the 31st of April.
Woo! I'm excited.
When is WonderCon exactly?
The 10th, the weekend of the 10th of April. So it's the 10th through the 12th, I think?
So it's literally 3 days after we get back, we'll be starting the sub drive.
Which is all the more reason why we will be planning ahead and working on our plan, so that we're basically ideally in hover mode during WonderCon, so that we're not working on stuff. So my plan is know what we're running on the sub drive for our special events, have the graphics done, and have our promos planned. And that's really something I need to work on this year, is getting ahead on that stuff.
And then we will also be talking about in June, I think, ish, but at WonderCon we'll be talking about it, the potential for our Dragon Pin Elemental Enamel Kickstarter.
Yep.
So we have our dragon pins, the little rainbow dragon egg pins that we created. And we will be creating another version of them. Hopefully, several more versions of them for all the
if
you LGBTQIA plus flags, which will be part of that Kickstarter that will be coming up, and we'll be talking about that at WonderCon. The Kickstarter will not be live until after our sub drive.
Correct.
So maybe,
we're gonna
maybe in May. I don't know how quickly we'll do it after that, but we will definitely be. No, I guess we'll need some time to talk about it. So we'll probably talk about it in May, and then in June we'll probably go for it.
Yep. You can check nerdsmith.org/pride to see a little bit of our to see what the pins look like.
Yeah.
So you can see what those are. And all of our proceeds from the original pre-order sales went to the Trevor Project. So I was very glad that we could do a little good with that initial run, and then we're gonna do some more stuff with them, and hopefully figure out how we want to continue promoting causes like Trevor with the pins.
And those will be in our store as soon as that gets open, which will be very, very soon, I hope. Hopefully before we go to WonderCon.
Yes, very, very hopefully. We're gonna try to start small. So that's what we're talking about. So on Patreon, we hit a tier of our subscriber goal, of our patron goal, that allows us, or at least sets up for us, that we're trying to work on getting our merchandise squared away. Enough people expressing that they want to support us, that we're like, all right, let's give merch a try. So yeah, we're working on the store. We'll try to have a few items up. I mean, the pins are obviously going to be, I think, one of our early ones if we can manage it.
So yeah, we'll have the pins. We'll have some shirts. We'll have the Pride shirts, and then
possibly some Mo merch.
The Mo merch. That's all. Those are already cut up and ready to go. It's just a matter of putting it all together and getting the store working, and figuring out how much it's going to cost to get the store working, and then doing all the design work on the website for the store. And it's just, there's a lot to do, unfortunately, and I am only one man.
One man with a very, very finicky immune system.
Lately, yeah.
Yes, we're gonna work on it, Jesse. We'll let you know when there is stuff available. We're gonna let everybody know when there's stuff available.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited. We've made a lot of effort to, at least with our giveaway stuff and some of our very early on promotional stuff. Logan's very careful about quality and making sure that when we're making stuff with our name on it, we're not just making random junk. We're making some decently produced products so that hopefully you get your money's worth out of having Nerdsmith stuff.
Yeah, I've been doing t-shirts and promotional design work for like since 12 years now. So not to mention, I mean, I dabbled in it before that, but I've been doing it seriously for the last 12 years. So I'm very particular when it comes to, the types of things we put out, the shirts we use and things like that.
So we think you're going to find some very cool stuff at the store.
I think you'll be happy.
Yeah. And yeah, we'll be rolling out a bunch of stuff. I guess the only other thing I can think of that we're rolling out very soon is like an official. We're going to do some updates to the website. There'll be some new pages coming up soon that have some organization information and things like that, so that you want to know more about the community.
Shaking things up a little bit.
A little bit. But cool stuff's still there, so they're for you to find. And we will be hopefully, and I'm going to try to organize the Shenanigoons people as sort of a farewell to Shenanigoons. What I would like to do is, lots of people have a small obsession with pins. But I'm going to try to organize the Shenanigoons cast, whoever has made a soundtrack for their character, to post their soundtracks with a little bit of a blurb for each track and what it means for their character. I'm hopefully going to put that up on the Patreon between now and season 2 starting, so that you guys can have a bit of a cool down, get to know how we contextualized our characters through music. Not everybody made a soundtrack, but everyone who did is more than happy to write a little bit about why they picked the songs they picked. So we'll try to do something really short like that. We'll put this on the Patreon for patrons to check out. They can read up on what the stuff means. And today I will be posting the transcript for Mike as Arthur, his farewell letter to the party from last night. His peace, going on vacation with my lady letter. Mike very generously gave that to me, and I will be putting it up for people to read. As well as our Shenanigoons Chaos contributors, which is like one of my new favorite things to do now. Writing up who donated what to Shenanigans and what they caused. This is your fault.
I love it.
So yeah, we'll be putting that up. And so thank you to the Matthews, as I was calling it in the write-up. We had Matthew Siebert and Mr. Matthew Mercer donated money last night, and they were very generous. Got spins on the wheel of causality, which caused a little bit of chaos last night. Just a little, just a little chaos. Most of it was just beautiful and
it wasn't that bad.
No, it was a very satisfying, if bittersweet, story that we told, with a lot of fucking kidney jokes.
Yeah.
Hope you're proud of yourself.
I'm very proud of myself. It's a good wrap up. That's why as soon as you told me
really encapsulated the tone of the show very well.
As soon as you told me about you having the iron flask, and you're like, oh, it could be any one of these monsters, I'm like, I already know who's in there.
Right.
I already know who's in there.
All right, so this has been the Discover RPG Power Hour, soon to be the Nerdsmith Power Hour. I am going to try in the next couple days to redo the format of the layout, so maybe we'll just change next week.
Yeah.
But thank you all so much for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure to kind of spend this lunch break with you, decompressing and chatting and sharing some cool things that we found across the internet. We will be here same time next week, noon PST, 3 p.m. Eastern, here on We Are Nerdsmith on Twitch. And you can find more about us on nerdsmith.org. You can find more about our sponsors, Die Hard Dice and World Anvil, on their respective websites. They are some generous, patient, wonderful people, and we highly support you taking a look at their wares, their services and wares. Theirs wares. So we once again are Angela and Logan. We are directors at Nerdsmith and fellow creators in our community, and we will see you all next week. Have a wonderful rest of your week, and please do us a favor and be good to each other. Bye.